This is a Devar Torah on Parashat Chayei Sarah. It is the fifth parsha of Sefer Bereshis. This parsha begins with Chayei Sarah, and Sarah lived 127 years, and then she died. They said this number of explanations when she died, because she was so overjoyed to find out that her son Yitzhak hadn't been sacrificed. She literally died from happiness, shock of it. Abraham then negotiates for the cave of Machpelah, which we have to this day, where he buried Sarah, and also buried there were Abraham and Adam and Chava, first man and woman. He then goes on to say that he's blessed with all, and he tells his servant to go find a wife for Yitzchak, not in Eretz Canaan, because they're all idol worshipping people, but to go back to the land of his ancestors, and get a wife there. And most of the parsha is taken up with that. At the end of that, he brings Rivka back, and the wording is interesting. After the servant of Abraham explains it, it says, Sarah imo yikach et Rivka tiyeh leisha and ba'ava. Now, the interesting wording, very different than we'd be writing today. It said he took Rivka, he took her, and she became his wife, and he loved her. Very different from the romantic concept of love, because true love only comes after a couple is married and get to know each other. It then goes on to say that Abraham gets married again to Keturah, some of whom say it was Hagar, who's now repented, done tshuva. We then go on to discussing Ishmael, and who in the meanwhile has done tshuva. That's why he, together with Yitzhak, buried Abraham. And it then describes the generations of Ishmael. And very interestingly, he is, there were 12 sons, which formed 12 tribes, just like Jewish people have 12 tribes. And as I explained in previous Devar Torah, many of these princes of these 12 tribes, which constitutes the modern Arab countries, were overthrown in the Arab Spring, which is, Zohar explained, was a necessary prerequisite before the coming of Mashiach and the end of days. And the pasuk I would like to focus on is the one where it says, this is after he buries his wife, Abraham Zakein ba b'yamin Adonai berek et Abraham b'kol. And Abraham was Zakein, old and well in days, and Hashem berech et Abraham b'kol, and he blessed, God blessed Abraham with everything. Now, why? I have two questions here. Why is it Hashem blessing, and why isn't it Elohim or El or Shaddai, a number of the other names of Hashem? Why particularly does it say Hashem? And second of all, he's been blessed with all. What does all mean? Kol doesn't give a list of what he's exactly blessed with. Now, according to the Ramban in the beginning of his commentary in this pasuk, says that he was, basic level, he was blessed with Osher, wealth, Nekasim, property, kavod, honor, and Yerekimim, and Banim, and with length of days and sons. Now, before we get to the actual meaning of this pasuk, I would like to give an introduction. Now, the introduction here is, what is the nature of Abraham, and why is this emphasizing this pasuk so important? Because the Jewish people descend from Abraham and Sarah. Yitzhak was their one son, and whatever traits, the qualities they had, we inherit. Now, Avram, why was he blessed with all these things? One of the reasons was Hashem tested him 10 times, and he passed every single test well. And the question is, though, are we descendants of Adam and Chava, the first woman and first man? Let's say us, the whole entire Jewish people. And it's very interesting that the answer is only partially. Spiritually, we are descendants of Adam and Chava. Adam and Chava had a 600,000 part neshama, which had each part had a male and female helix section, and so therefore spiritually we descended. But as explained Rav Yitzhak Chayei in the Chatama introduction to his Yad Mitzrayim Haggadah, we did not descend from Adam and Chava like the rest of the human race, with a couple of exceptions, physically. So where did we, why is that said? Because if you look at it, Abraham and Sarah didn't start out as Abraham and Sarah. They started out as Avram and Sarai. Now, according to Derek Ateva, according to Muslim, the stars, there was no way they could have children. Neither one of them had the necessary capabilities. Abraham was given it first. In fact, he fathered a child with Hagar, which became Ishmael. And that looked like that would be the end of it. However, Hashem changed their names to Abraham and Sarah, and they could. What does that mean? That, as the Rav Yitzhak Chayei explains, it's totally mala minateva. It's totally above anything that could happen naturally. And that represents the Jewish people. We are totally a mala minateva. We're totally not governed by the normal rules of civilization and development. And with that preface, I'd like to actually turn to the pasuk. Now, Bakol, according to the Gemara in Baba Basra, has 3 meanings. One, when they ask, what was Abraham blessed with? According to one opinion, he was blessed because he had a daughter. The second opinion is he was blessed because he didn't have a daughter. And the third opinion is he had a daughter named Bakol. Now, there's a few questions on that. Is the third opinion the Yesh Meforshim? Is that arguing on the first 2 opinions in the Gemara? Or is it simply saying that assuming Abraham did have a daughter, the name was Bakol, and what's the significance of that? What kind of name is Bakol? And the Ramban is going to explain that there's a very, very deep thing going on here. As he called it, a mukma ode. And what is happening is that Abraham was blessed. Oh, and before I get to that, question is, what was the discussion between the first 2 opinions that said that Abraham was blessed with all because he didn't, he had a daughter, didn't have a daughter? Because in those days, the woman had to go to her husband's family and live there. The ones that stayed with Abraham. And the only one she could have married were the Canaanite man, and they were all idol worshippers, as we're going to see in next week's parsha. Told those who Esau winds up marrying them to the other disgust of his parents, Yitzchak and Rivka. So that's why he was blessed that he didn't have a daughter, so he wouldn't have to face that horrible choice of either never getting married or getting married and going into an idol worshiping situation. The second opinion says that he was blessed with a daughter because daughters are the carriers of life, bearers of life, and without them, even with sons, he is not complete. A man needs at least one daughter. That's another question. Now, what is this concept of Bakol? Bakol, which interestingly enough has a gematria of 52 in Hebrew. Each letter represents a number, which is one of the names of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. It's coming to tell us that Hashem not only created the universe, he is the source of Bakol, of absolutely everything. Everything comes from him. And which name is that? That's the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. That was the first name of Hashem that came into existence. And when he started using a name, before the beginning of creation, more than 2,000 years before creation, there was only Hashem, there was nothing else. He didn't need a name because all those names and the qualities that are described are for the benefit of his creatures, mainly the human race, and not for himself. Now, therefore, Abraham was given that knowledge that everything is from Hashem, and also it represents, according to the Ramban, it's also brought down in the Rakanati, in the Parashat Rakanati by the Lavush, that it represents the 8th quality of Hashem's 13 special qualities that we say on Hashem, which according to some, the 8th quality is emes, truth, and Abraham had a complete understanding of that quality, the 8th quality of emes, that everything is Hashem. Hashem is the cause of everything. And not only is Hashem the cause of everything, all things, both good or things that appear to be apparently not good, come from him. And therefore, if one truly understands that everything is Hashem and he's created everything, Bakol, then we can come to no harm. In other words, everything we're seeing today in terms of the war is with Hashem's guidance. We don't fully understand the reasons why certain things had to happen the way they happened. But taking that, there is in fact a segula that was taught by the Brisker Rav. She used to get out of Europe. It was originally taught by Rav Chaim Belazhin, the primary student of Vilna Gaon, that if one looks at the second half of the verse in Deuteronomy, chapter 4, the verse 35, Lamed Hey, it says, Hashem Elokim ein al novado. Hashem is Elokim. Hashem is the first name of which Hashem predates our creation. Elokim, which represents justice, was the name used for actually creating the world. No harm can come to us because that means that everything drops away. And there are many stories of people in terrible danger, sakana. They said this first, the Brisker Rav and his 2 sons, and there's been many great stories, true stories since that, where people have been spared from certain death because they truly realize that Hashem is everything and the prime cause. And we should all be safe and there, but we should keep this segula in mind. Good Shabbos and Shabbat Shalom.